Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time it is where you are. So I'm Success, and I want to talk about something that came to my mind yesterday and I decided to share. If you struggle with finishing stuff, I mean books, courses, your projects, I think this will be of help to you, at least to a very large extent. So watch and enjoy. Thank you. So to start, I'll say that if you notice that you're someone that struggles with finishing stuff that they start, courses, books, projects, whatever it is, but you struggle with finishing things that you start, I think one of the things that will help you is having a good why before you start. Having your why, establishing your why before you start, establishing your reason for doing this thing, establishing what is motivating you to do this thing, what you want to gain from this, why you really want to do this, why you'd rather not do something else but do this. You should establish that. If that is very established, if you have that strong foundation, that's why as to your reason for doing this thing, it's going to help you in the long run, and I'll explain what I mean. Here's what I mean. When you start stuff, things could happen and then you get demotivated along the line. You might remain consistent, you might not be demotivated, but sometimes life happens and then you just discover that somehow you've dumped that thing and you really, not that you don't want to do it, but you find yourself not doing it. You know, this could be as a result of a lot of things. It could be internal stuff, it could be external factors that have prevented you from continuing this. It could just be laziness, it could be procrastination, it could be just anything. But when you have a solid why, when you have a solid reason for doing that thing in the first place, even before you started, you realize that even when you get demotivated, somehow you find yourself going back to it. And I'm going to, be telling something, an experience that made me feel this way. I registered for this course in February this year, and I really wanted to. It was a good course. It was going to be helpful to me. Maybe not then immediately, but I knew that later I'll be needing something like that. So I registered for the course, and then I was doing it. I think for the first few weeks, I did it consistently, and then over time, I just realized I dumped this course. I didn't even realize it immediately, but after a while, I realized I had dumped this course. I wasn't doing it again. I just left it, and this course was going to be available for 1 year. So it meant that by February next year, it would have been closed for me. You know. So along the line, I actually took other courses that I was doing and all of that. But this one that I started in February, I had abandoned it. And I had a good reason for starting in the first place. I said it, I talked about your why. So I already established my why before I even started it. So abandoning it, sometimes I felt guilty, but I still did not find myself going back to it. So it was just there. And then months rolled by. And all of a sudden, I think last month, I found myself going back to the course. I didn't plan it, but somehow I just went back to it. And then I finished it last week. And then I just told myself, I asked myself, how and why did I go back to the course? It was something I had abandoned for months. Why? What made me? It wasn't like I even just sat down one day and said, okay, see this course, I'm going back to it. But somehow I found myself going back to it. Why? How did that happen? And then I realized that it was because I had a very good reason for starting it in the first place. So somewhere in my head, somewhere in me, I just wanted to finish it. So even though I was lazy or whatever happened to me that made me not to continue, somehow I went back to it. Why? Because I had a good why. Because I had a good reason for starting it in the first place. I had established my reason before even starting the course. So that was the reason that pushed me into doing it. And even though I got demotivated in the process, the reason pushed me further to finish it. So yes, it's one very good thing. When you want to start something, don't just start it because you know it's okay, it might catch your fancy and you just want to do it, but even at that, just establish why it is you want to do it. Purpose, establish why is this thing important to me. When you have that good foundation, when you have that solid foundation, which is your reason for doing it, you find yourself doing it. So that if you're consistent from day one to the last day, that reason is pushing you to continue to be consistent. If for any reason you get demotivated or you find yourself abandoning it later, that reason would push you to go back to it and finish it, just like it did me. So yes, that's one of the ways that you can start things and finish them. It might not be a course, it might be a project, it might be a book. Many people start books and don't finish them. I've been in that situation before sometimes, so it might be something, it might be anything, something that I mean, anything that has a beginning should have an end, right? So when you start something, even if you just liked it from the beginning, when you want to do it, just establish your reason for doing it. Okay, I'm reading this book because I know it will give me value. I'm reading this book because I want to gain knowledge in this area. I'm doing this course because it's going to be very useful to me. And you break it down to suit your own personal reasons, not just the general, not just because it's a good book, not just because it has value. But yes, apart from these things, and in addition to these things, it's going to do this and this and this for me in these areas of my own life. That way, you retain motivation, so that even if in between you fall, kind of, you come back to it at the end of the day. Sometimes it could even be distractions. It could be distractions. Maybe something is distracting you from finishing this course, you know. So whatever it is, establishing a strong foundation of why you're doing this will help you. I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope that you know, become serious with finishing the things you start. It's very easy to start stuff as humans. I think we know that. It's very easy to start stuff sometimes, but finishing it, finishing it is another ball game, and we know. So I hope this helps you when you want to start that project, that course, that book, that endeavor. Just build or keep or make or understand or lay down a very strong reason why you're doing it. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. The reason doesn't have to be fancy, but something that is really important to you, something that makes you to want to continue. Yeah. So bye. See you in the next video. Bye.